Welcome back, everyone. There's nothing like a good adoption story to put smiles on our faces, and Larissa's here to share a sweet story about how dogs really are man's best friends. No doubt about it, everybody. Please welcome Julio and his rescue dad, Scott Kapoyan. Welcome. Welcome, guys.
Yes, Scott rescued Julio through our show a while back, and it just reminds all of us why it's so important, no matter what your circumstances are, that dogs are such a great companion, and cats, I might add. And nothing makes me happier than earlier today going in to talk to Scott and see Julio and seeing this.
Wow.
Scott's own portrait of Julio that he brought along with him.
You drew that, Scott?
No, a colleague of mine in my Oregon networking group, Michelle Smith, does this for a living. It's her business.
Beautiful.
It's called Corker Creative, and she drew Julio from a portrait.
And I just love seeing this.
It's true.
It's awesome. I'm so happy you guys are together.
Now, we got to start at the beginning. We understand that there was a real home and family connection that brought you and Julio together.
As you know, Sam is a producer on this show.
Yes.
Yep.
And he introduced me to Julio via one of your adoption segments. I actually had met two other pets, and I went and visited them. Julio was the third one, but I seemed to have the connection with Julio. And I thought about it over a weekend, and I said, you know, I'm gonna go ahead with this. It's somewhat of a leap of faith. Julio was extremely friendly, which is why the connection was there. But there's always a little bit of uncertainty because I knew this was a commitment, a lifetime commitment.
Right.
And I did not want to take him back under any circumstances. I wanted to do whatever was necessary, and we've been together ever since.
Well, you took a leap of faith on Julio, but he also put his faith in you, too. You helped him get over a serious fear, didn't you?
Yes, Julio is indiscriminately friendly towards humans, but he was extremely fearful of large dogs. So when we would go on walks, he would tighten up. He was scared. He'd walk away from him. And I knew I didn't want to reinforce that. I wanted to encourage him to be around all animals. And I encouraged him, prodded him a lot to be around larger dogs. And eventually that fear got extinguished over repeated exposures. And now he plays with all dogs, large and small.
Good for you. Good for you to handle that like that. Now, Larissa, I know it's not uncommon for dogs, in shelters to develop fears or some nervousness around many different forms.
Of course. I mean, you almost have to put your brain in their brain and think about what they've been through. A lot of shelters are noisy, they're scary, they've been dumped by the only family they know or the only owner that they know. And so, of course, it's very easy for them to either be fearful of certain noises or dogs or cats or who knows what triggers them. And you did everything right by taking him out, putting him in safe situations with larger dogs to kind of desensitize him and get him comfortable with them. And all it takes is a little patience.
Right.
Usually most of those behaviors can be worked on, and it just requires some extra, maybe a trainer or some extra work like you did.
Right. Well, in the last 5 years, you and Julio have been thick as thieves. You've not left each other's sides. And he helped you with a really big move in your life, I understand.
Yes. About 3 years ago, I made a decision to move from Los Angeles to Portland, Oregon, where I have no professional contacts. I have no personal associates. I was just ready for a change. And Julio drove up there with me, and he handled that really fine. And he's been with me there ever since. While I was
make friends?
Yeah. Those are some of our friends that he's made. Some of the baristas at the local Starbucks that I go to, and because he loves everybody. I've met lots of people. I've met people in the community. Portland's very friendly as a pet city, and so there's a whole community of pet individuals there. The people in the building where I live love him. We go into the elevator, and he stares at him, and he touches them, and they touch him, and it creates a feedback loop of love.
It's so true, because a lot of people will come up to a dog, but not a person on their own.
Right,
you know what I
that's
mean?
true.
So it's such a great kind of buffer to have when, you're in a new city, and so you helped him and he helped you.
Another great reason to have a rescue.
Yeah.
To get a rescue dog, right?
So
you meet a lot of
sweet.
people. For
Yes.
sure. And it's very clear to us that you guys are having a wonderful life together, you and Julio. But maybe somebody out there who's on the fence about whether or not to rescue an animal, through your own experience, what would you tell them? What would you encourage them?
Well, I'd say make sure you have the time to devote, because they do require care. They do require companionship. They do require playtime. Sometimes they require medical care. They require preventive care. But all this can be integrated into your life if you have the commitment to it. And what they give to you is phenomenal.
Right.
I don't always know what he's thinking but I know that he's grateful.
Right. Larissa, Julio and Scott's story is a perfect example of why it's so important to take a leap of faith on these animals.
Yes, I mean, just like you said, you don't always know if it's the right time. You know what I mean? It's like with kids, you don't always know that today's the day I should get a dog. But I promise you, they give you so much love back that it becomes just a wonderful situation. Sometimes you do have to take that leap of faith. And as you said, you do have to put some work into it, some time, some patience. But man, it is a bond like no other when you can come home to somebody who is 100% unconditionally loving you, and you just never feel alone when you have a companion with 4 paws next to you on the couch.
That's so true.
I'm just looking at you two sitting there. Julio hasn't moved. He's just chilling.
He's
so
adorable.
incredibly happy. I don't know how you do it, but he clearly feels comfortable at home and safe with you, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Thank
Scott.
you. Thank you.
Thanks for being here today.
Scott. Thank you, Julio.
Thank you, Julio.
And always thank you, Larissa.
To see all our adoptable animals we showcase every day, go to HallmarkChannel.com and, of course, SavedByTheL.com as well.
And you all stick around because next, Larissa is going to remind us of the cuties that are available for adoption today. Come on back, everyone.